Good morning from Nairobi. My name's David Baines from the Equitable AI Alliance, and I'm here with Winnie from Signvrse, who's going to talk to us about the development they have for people who are deaf. Winnie, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell me, what is this thing called Signvrse, in a nutshell?
Signvrse, we are an assistive tech social enterprise, and we are bridging communication gaps between the deaf and the hearing communities by developing a digital sign language interpreter. So think a platform that takes in text and speech, and output is an automated 3D avatar that signs exactly the input that has been put into it.
Okay, where would people use that?
We say anywhere where communication is concerned. So think restaurants when somebody goes to order. Think about airport announcements that are not accessible in sign language. Think about making websites accessible in sign language. You're able to scroll through a website and then you have a digital 3D human that is signing exactly the content that is there. And we're trying to reach spaces where physical and human interpreters can't reach. And think about YouTube videos. Think about advertisements. Education platforms, healthcare, law, all the sectors that we know that communication is concerned, but we don't have the capacity for interpreters to reach that. So we're using tech to bridge that gap.
And this is a proud African-based innovation.
Proud African-based innovation. We're based in Nairobi, but also have some operations running in Rwanda as well, with the capacity also to expand globally, and that's also what we're looking at.
Okay. Now, so you're developing avatars using artificial intelligence?
Yes, I wouldn't say what we're developing is the avatars really, but what we're trying to do is to enable the avatars sign or be the sign language interpreters where human interpreters can't be.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I'll be honest, this has been a controversial area for a long time.
Yes.
And there are many people within the deaf community who have concerns about use of avatars. How would you respond to them?
I would say that yes, there has been concern about use of avatars, but what we're working towards is incorporating their feedback in the development as well. I remember initially we had the challenge of the avatars being robotic because of the technology that we're using. Yeah. And based on their feedback, we've been able to make it more fluid by using motion capture systems to capture the motion data of the sign language as they sign. And that has made it more fluid and more acceptable. We're also making sure that the avatars are more human-like so that they're able to relate to them. Yeah. The avatars are customizable, so that means I can take my photo, I can take yours, upload it onto the platform, and then you have something that you can relate to, but also continually listening to their feedback and also incorporating that into the product that we are creating. And for the latest, it's incorporating facial expressions as well, which is a big part of sign language. So we're working with their feedback to ensure that the product we are creating is acceptable and works for them, and they're able to use it, and not just creating tech that isn't used by the community we are creating it for.
And you're getting feedback from that community all the time?
Consistently, yes. Throughout production and throughout development, we've been able to involve them and ask them what they feel about it in our test runs, in our MVP. So that's what we're continually doing so that we don't go to market with something that the isn't accepting. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that you say that sign language is not just about what you do with your hands. It's non-verbal language, really.
Yes. A lot of people think about sign language as, okay, yes, there's English, but there's the structure of the language. There's how we structure our spoken languages in terms of verbs and nouns, and that arrangement is different in sign language. It's a body expressive language. You use your hands, you use your body, and use your facial expressions as well. So we are looking at tech that captures all those nuances to create an acceptable product.
And I know that so many people who are deaf that I speak to tell me about how frustrating it is when they need to go to, whether it's a doctor, whether it's, as you said, even just at social events, restaurants and so on, how difficult it is to find somebody who they can communicate with. So, but what do you see as that potential impact of Signvrse? And how do you see that happening?
The potential of Signvrse, I think, is to create a world where there is no divide between people living with disability and the rest of the world, and in this case, the deaf community, and just bridging that access gap, because as you're mentioning, all those sectors, there is a way they're cut off from it and they're not able to participate fully in society. With our technology, we see that we're able to bridge that gap and they're able to access what they couldn't access before, and with this comes growth, and with this comes access to education, and with this comes a full life that they haven't been able to enjoy before.
Yeah. Now, I get really excited about the potential of artificial intelligence to advance the agenda of access and inclusion. But how do you see the role of AI in advancing sign language and accessibility?
I'd say AI is our enabler. Technology is already enabling so many other sectors. Why not in assistive technology? We're looking at building, if not the world's, but Africa's biggest sign language data set, and just expanding that so that all the sectors and all the contexts are covered within our platform and within our technology. Yeah, and just ensuring that the solution that we're able to create and the one that we've been creating reaches the entire world, gives them access to what they couldn't access before. And AI sort of being the bridge that connects them to the rest of the world, the bridge that enables them to participate fully in society, and yeah, the bridge that they're able to participate in, and the bridge that creates the impact that you're looking for.
Interesting. And which languages are you developing for currently?
Right now, we've been able to develop for the Kenya Sign Language. As you know, every country has sort of adopted its own sign language. We haven't completed the database for Kenya Sign Language, and what we're working towards right now is just, expanding that data set to cover fully the Kenya Sign Language, and with the technology and infrastructure, probably expand that to other countries as well if we have the data.
Yeah. There was somebody I was talking to earlier, and they said, why don't you develop for Universal Sign Language? And they said, well, because universally we don't use it. So those local languages are incredibly important.
Incredibly important, and even with the local languages, you realize there are variations across regions. So if you're able to develop the standardized version for where we are at now, we're sure that we're able to also to do the same with other sign languages as well. There's no need to create something that we know would not be usable to our customer or to our local community.
Very interesting. But does this mean we're not going to need sign language interpreters in the future?
That is one of the biggest questions that we face. And my answer to that is the reason why we are developing what we are developing right now is because we do not have enough sign language interpreters to cover the market and the big population of the deaf community. And we're not going to lose touch or the human touch of human sign language interpreters. We need that. It is necessary. What we are saying is we want to create solutions that reach where human interpreters cannot reach. You have a deaf person who goes to a website. You don't have a sign language interpreter for that. Online classes, yes, there are possibilities for that, but that is also expensive as well. So we are not putting sign language interpreters out of jobs. They're our enablers, and they're the people that bring the human touch to it, and they're still going to be within the industry, and ours is to reach gaps and markets that they can't access.
So it sounds to me like Signvrse is going to be used to increase the breadth of access to sign language.
Exactly. Our mission is to bridge the access gap between the hearing and the deaf community, and that's what we are here for.
And then when we get into the detail of communication, that's where human interpretation is going to be so important.
Yes.
To build upon that.
To build upon that, and we aren't losing that. We need them for so many contexts that maybe our solution may be not able to reach. And as I'm saying, it is capacity. And already we know that the capacity of the sign language interpreters hasn't reached to the demand from the deaf community, so yes.
And one of the areas I hear a lot of people talking about is access to education.
Yes.
How do you see Signvrse working within the education sector, both here in Kenya and beyond?
I'd start with the fact that the deaf community is very cut off from education for the communication barriers that we are mentioning. And with our solution, what we've been able to envision is inclusive schools. The fact that right now the deaf students go to other schools and the hearing students go to other schools. We're looking at a world where all these students can participate fully in a classroom without the need of separating that. So if you have our solution within physical education setups, think about having hearing and deaf students within the same classroom. Think about access to online classrooms, online meetings. Education is going online right now. There are online degrees, there are online certificates, but they aren't accessible in sign language.
Yeah.
So we're looking at making education accessible to the deaf community, not just physically, but also on digital platforms as well.
Okay, that's important. And I think that breadth of vision that you have should be something that appeals to funders and investors as in terms of potential impact. And when we think about funders and investors, how would you recommend that they ensure that their investment in assistive technology companies both drives innovation but also helps prioritize inclusive design for everyone?
I think it's important to have inclusion as some of the key metrics for assessing the success of funders, and just ensure that that is one of the KPIs as they assess the innovations. And something else that I also would like to mention is the fact that sometimes funders may shy away from assistive tech because they don't see returns.
Yep.
But my argument has always been that the potential for assistive technologies is endless. And the fact that there is a community that is cut off or that do not access certain products because it's not accessible to them. We talk about 1 in 5 people being deaf. That's 20% of the global world population. If we argue for funders that, this is 20% of people that are not reached through businesses, through education, and this is a sector that not only will we use it as inclusive, but could also give you returns as well.
Yep.
I think it's very important that we look at it not just as a charity case, but something that also brings businesses and brings returns as well, so that it's more encouraging for funders also to invest in assistive tech.
We used to talk about there were two types of people in the world. There were the disabled and there were noddies. And noddies stood for not disabled yet. And hearing loss, acquisition of hearing loss, is something which comes with age. And not only do we have an aging global population, even within countries with a young population, people are living longer. So do you think your technology is going to reach and support people as they age as well?
Yes, of course. We look at it as a solution that could pass through age groups and enable even the aging community to access services and to access services, provide services, so to say, and be able to sort of continue with the life that they've been able to live without interruption. So yeah, we look at our solution as something that cuts across age groups, from young learners to people who've developed hearing loss as they age.
And I've been a believer for a long time that if we want to see technologies developed locally, then we need infrastructure. We need the building blocks in place. So what would you say to investors and funders, public and private, is needed to build that infrastructure?
What is needed to build that infrastructure, one, is confidence in the ability of the African innovator, and the fact that solutions that we are creating can be localized and is accessible here. We have so much potential of people building amazing products, and we need that investment into them and into the people that are creating these products to enable them advance. One of the biggest challenges, for example, that we face as a software company and data sets, so to say. And if we're able to get funders invest in that acquisition of data sets, then we are sure that some of the solutions that we are creating have a start base and we are not starting from zero.
Yeah. I think this is, often when people talk about investment, they talk about the need for people to invest in manufacturing locally. But what you're saying, if you're building digital products, that manufacturing process is data sets, it's data, and so on. And we need that locally. Yeah. Which takes us into people. You said earlier that you involve people who are deaf in all stages of your development.
Yes.
That concept of co-creation, what would you be saying to funders and other developers about the importance of co-creation?
What's important about co-creation is it makes your product and the service that you're offering more acceptable, and not just because people accept it, but because it works for them. If we did not have the deaf community within our team, and if we did not involve them, then what we are creating would be for nothing, or it would face so much backlash. But involving them and getting that feedback is important because it helps us create something that we know is usable. And just involving them in terms of even the ideas that they bring to the table. And one of our core team members, Daniel lost his hearing as a 15-year-old. So you can imagine some of the opportunities that he feels he's lost in the course of that miscommunication and the fact that sign language isn't as universal as we'd want it to be. So involving him gives him that hope and gives us that push and the confidence to know that we are creating something that would be beneficial for the community. So co-creation is deeply important.
Now, the bad news is we've run out of time. And I think you and I could keep talking for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or a couple of days. That would be fine. And I think you've given us a hint. But if you had a call to action for the people here at the conference, for the people out in the community, investors, funders, developers, what would you be saying to them?
Assistive tech isn't a charity case. We are creating solutions to enable our partners and to enable our community to access what we, the other people, get so easily. So I say it's not a charity case. It is investment into ensuring that all human beings have access to the most basic need. And it is an investment that you can make you returns. And maybe if you're not even looking at financing, we're looking at making an impact in the world. We're looking at the losses that governments face because they're not inclusive in the systems. So the losses that we get from not investing in assistive tech is bigger than what we think that we are avoiding. So I think we need to get that balance between, okay, what's the trade-off here? Because sometimes it looks like a trade-off. We're not going to invest in assistive tech because it's expensive. Yeah. But it's expensive in the long run to cut out an entire community out of access, which is a basic human right. And also, call to action to our funders would be, this is a profitable venture. This is something that you need to look at. And this is something that will bring you returns and ensure that you're not just doing things corporate for profit, but ensuring you have impact as well.
You've got exciting times ahead. I really look forward to hearing how things develop and how you disseminate and get this out into the hands of people.
Thank you so much. We'd love to.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.